Call of Duty developers are a very interesting case within themselves. They can for years ignore all the criticisms that are being thrown their way in regards to everything from the gameplay, the monetization, the marketing, absolutely everything to do with the franchise. They can ignore it. But when someone gets on stage at the Game Awards and makes a little tiny joke about how short the most recent Call of Duty is, while really taking a jab at themselves,
well, then everyone loses their minds.
Yes, I am of course talking about Christopher Judge's appearance at the most recent Game Awards, and while I'm no real big fan of Jeff Keighley or the Game Awards as a whole, I believe that the best thing about it is to get announcements for upcoming games and all that type of stuff. One thing that I did appreciate was the fact that Christopher Judge was able to make fun of himself. But of course, Call of Duty developers, past and present, take it as a direct assault on them.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
So we're just going to jump right into this. Kratos' voice actor pissed off the entire COD community. I don't think that's entirely accurate. I think most people can appreciate the fact that he was mostly making fun of himself while taking a jab at the absolute disaster that is the Modern Warfare 3 campaign, and at the same time pointing a lot of the fingers at Activision, because what he's actually doing is he's not taking shots at the developers. I'm so sick of this trash and tired out argument of if you criticize something in the game, you're attacking the devs. No, that is not what you're doing. You're pointing out something that you do not like. It could be your favorite franchise of all time, but you point out one thing that you don't like about some recent entry, and therefore, according to the internet, that must mean that you have always hated the entire franchise. And just real quick, before we actually get into what he actually said, I think one way to look at this is the developers should be taking what Christopher Judge said, and they should reply saying, yeah, well, we know who you can blame for this one, can't we? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Activision and their dodgy business practices and the fact that this game is supposed to be a DLC. So at the Game Awards, the legendary voice actor of God of War's Kratos, Christopher Judge, took to the stage to make a joke that was in poor taste. Again, I don't agree that it was in poor taste. If anything, he was actually making fun of himself more. Last year, he was up on the grandest stage in gaming and delivered a speech that lasted a whopping 8 minutes. This year, however, he was prompted to stress that his speech was at least longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign.
Not gonna stand up here making long speeches. I'm gonna stick to the script. No 8-minute speech like last year. But fun fact, my speech was actually longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign. What?
And that's what's caused this meltdown from current and previous Call of Duty developers, as well as other developers inside of other studios. But really, I took this as him making fun of himself. He's basically saying, yeah, I can stand up there and dribble a lot of crap for a long time. He's really just making fun of himself. I don't think this is a cause for the developers to cry. And like I said earlier, you can just shift this right to Activision and go, well, that's their fault because of this dodgy stuff that's going on here. Almost instantly, Call of Duty's developers from past and present took to social media to snap back at Judge, and they were joined by much of the COD community, all of them expressing the same sentiment. In one of the most damning statements, former Infinity Ward developer, I can't pronounce the name, I would absolutely butcher this, said that Christopher Judge's awkward joke was, quote, funny, but yeah, the metrics of Call of Duty absolutely destroys all of God of War games, probably combined to be honest. He is also equally laughable, if not more. Sounds to me like someone's taking this jab rather personally when all they're doing is saying your game was a little bit short. Yes, absolutely, Call of Duty is outselling God of War like no tomorrow. I don't think anyone's arguing that, but that's what happens when you put out a well-established franchise despite the quality of the games year after year after year after year with an incredibly dedicated and in some case brain-dead community of players. On Twitter, Windows Central Jez Corden also had a lot to say. Say what you want about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 critically, but it's fucking shitty bad taste to have approved some dumb teleprompter joke attacking devs. Once again, he didn't attack the developers, he just said that the campaign was incredibly short, and to repeat myself and sound like a broken record, they could easily point this to Activision and say, yep, well that's the reason why it was so short. This was supposed to be a DLC, remember? Anyway, he goes on saying that development on that game was incredibly hard and well documented. That is true, I will add that myself, and that is true. Attacking the developers is the wrong call, celebrate the devs, my ass. I am completely failing to see where any developer of this year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 was attacked. If anything, he is just making fun of himself. And the fact that people are getting so upset about this little joke, this little comment really does show that we are so offended by everything in today's society. We just to put this in the grand scheme of things, we are living in a world where people who made Call of Duty, one of the most toxic games to ever exist in gaming history, the saying wouldn't survive a Modern Warfare 2 lobby, the most toxic shit, or some of the most toxic shit to ever exist, the people that work on this franchise are offended and are crying because Christopher Judge said this.
But fun fact, my speech was actually longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign.